All right, welcome. It's April the 16th, 2022. Tonight's going to be a very busy night in boxing overall. If you're interested in a 147-pound unification between Errol Spence, WBC, IBF, 147-pound welterweight champion Yordenis Ugas. Over in Australia, the fight's going to be on Big J. I see the fight's going to be tonight on main event at $30.
That's correct. Main event, $30. Yep. Pay-per-view.
So, we have a lot to talk about. Very packed show here today. We got talk about Tszyu versus Gausha. Recap that. Tony Harrison, Jason Moloney, Sebastion Fundora, Erickson Lubin, and I'm just shooting out names before we get started. Ebanie Brigdes, Jamie Mitchill, Dina Thorslund, Thorslund, Devin Haney, Haney Kambosos, Paul Gallen, Nikita Tszyu, Sonny Bill Williams, Brigdes. So yeah, very packed show. But let's just start off hot. Did you see? Well, of course you've seen it. What were your thoughts again? Even though we did a video on Tszyu versus Gausha, and did you get a chance to watch both of the fights between Sebastion Fundora and Erickson Lubin and Tony Harrison versus Sergio Garcia?
No, I haven't seen I've seen bits and pieces, highlights of the Harrison Garcia fight. I've seen more of the Fundora Lubin fight because I was shocked just how badly Erickson Lubin got beaten. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're all pretty confident that Erickson Lubin was going to pretty much chop down Sebastion Fundora, kick the shit out of his body and take his head off after that. But the complete opposite happened. Fundora absolutely brutalized Lubin to the point where he's going to have to throw the towel in. The ninth round? Ninth round?
Yeah, ninth round.
Now, ninth round corner stoppage, and Erickson Lubin looking an absolute mess. So, Sebastion Fundora is the absolute dark horse of the 154 division because no one thought that he would, be doing as well as he is because now he's the number one contender, correct?
Yeah, he's the WBC Interim champion. Yes, he is.
And if, I think if things go well, there'll be a fight between himself and Tony Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much what we're going to talk about. Fundora looked, it was the best he's ever looked. And obviously, at this point in time, at 19-0-1 with 13 KOs, the biggest win of his career. He also was down himself in round number 7. He took a knee, which he talked about on the Boxing Voice boxing show, where basically he knew it was the right thing to do. He's not trying to act like a tough guy, and he knew that if he didn't take the knee, he would have probably been in more trouble. Erickson Lubin actually had his nose broken in that fight, and he was just taking such a beating, and just so happened he was up on the cards. He was up, on 2 of the 3 cards. Very close fight. 85-85, 84-85, 84-85.
But as I said, one punch can change everything. And it seemed that Fundora is very technically sound because that was a good, tactician's move. Okay, you're getting a bit of a beating, take a knee. The ref comes in, gives you an 8 count, you stand up, you start over again. I mean, that's very smart. I mean, that's good. That's very good ring IQ. I mean, not many boxers would do that. So, I think that he's a very extremely his ring IQ is increasing as he's proven. I mean, I've said from the start that Tim Tszyu would be a good fight for him, but I'm not so sure now because Tim Tszyu would have to get close enough to get to that body of his.
Yeah, I have a different opinion on that fight too. I'm not as confident. Like Fundora, with that size and his inside, ability, it'll be a tough task for anybody, especially for Tim Tszyu at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Tszyu gave away took 8 far too many right hands in the Gausha fight.
Mm-hmm.
So Fundora would just beat him up. So, I mean, that's really a 50-50 fight. You don't know which way it's going to go. Because if Tim gets on the inside and can...
I got to be honest. I would edge for Fundora from what I'm seeing right now. Tim Tszyu got dropped by Terrell Gausha.
That's right. I mean, as I said, if you go after Tim in the first round or so, he's very amateurish. That's his weakest point, is that you got to take the fight to him straight away.
Yeah.
And with Fundora, with those extremely long limbs of his, if Tszyu comes for the body, he can just move out of the way.
Yeah.
So, So, yeah, I mean, that would be an extremely interesting fight. But at this stage, considering that they're both number one contenders, yeah, I don't see it happening.
And Tony Harrison, he looked really good. I'm talking about, you can tell that he was a world champion before, and he can be world champion again in outclassing. Very good boxer, and he's supposed to be retiring. Sergio Garcia. Tony Harrison, 29-3-1 with 21 KOs, coming off of a 1-year layoff. Last year he fought Brian Perella in the fight, where a lot of fans thought that he lost that fight, but he also did lose his father. That to COVID, and that should be taken of note. Before that, he had lost his championships to Jermell Charlo in the 11th round KO. And now he's back. Right now, the 154-pound division, with what we've seen the last week between Fundora and Harrison, it just puts more pressure on Tim Tszyu, because right now I would pick Tony Harrison, the one I seen this last weekend, and the Fundora to beat Tim Tszyu.
I agree. I think Tony Harrison would be more of a challenge than what Fundora would be, but I think Tim Tszyu would come up short against both of them. But having said that, I mean, every opponent we've come up against, and actually more so these two, I don't think that they could get past. I don't think Tim could get past either of those guys. Certainly not Harrison, not the way he looked against Garcia. So Fundora, 50-50 fight, maybe slight advantage to Fundora, but Harrison, I don't think Tim's at that level yet.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see who Tim Tszyu fights, because to break down the division, we're going to have Charlo Castaño happening, Charlo Castaño 2 happening May the 14th. That's going to be here in the States on Showtime. And it is listed on the, I have the main event page pulled up here right now. I believe it's listed on here. Let me check really quick. Yes, they do. They have it listed here for $30. It's going to be May the 15th, Sunday afternoon for you guys over in Australia. The way the division is set up, the winner of Charlo Castaño has to fight IBF mandatory Bakhram Murtazaliev. There's no more step asides. He has to get his shot. Now, if they were to have a third fight, that would have to be an interim fight. Whoever has those belts between Charlo Castaño, whoever's, if it ends in a draw or it's undisputed and they want to fight, a third time, just, to really clear the air, they can't until they get rid of that IBF mandatory. Then they would have to hope and pray that Tim Tszyu and his side, if he still holds on to that WBO mandatory spot, would allow for the fight as well, including the sanctioning body, the WBO. So as it stands right now, Tim Tszyu is going to need another fight, sometime before the end of, I'm guessing, when do you think he would be back? In August? Do you think he would be able to squeeze in 2 more fights this year?
Oh, yeah, easy. I mean, Tim, to his credit, likes to stay active. What's Ted Cheeseman doing?
Yeah, but you got to think that he's, the way it stands right now, he's searching for a title shot, and he's a mandatory, so, and he's got to be able to fight a credible opponent. So, for 2 fights this year, I don't think he'll be able to get a progressive growth in opponents. So, for example, let's say if he does fight, Tony Harrison, or, somehow they get the 2 mandatories to fight between Sebastion Fundora, WBC interim champion, and WBO mandatory Tim Tszyu. Let's say if they get that, still after that, he wins, he still has to have a fight, like a progression type of fight.
That's right.
I don't see him getting a third fight this year. I think it's going to be 2. Because I really think that they want to hold on to that mandatory spot and not keep risking it. Even with the way,
that's right.
I mean, for some reason now, I think that they may not even be, I would be shocked if they try to make the Tony Harrison fight. It would be a big fight, but for some reason, I think they may try to steer away from that.
I think that's what I agree. That's why I said, what's Ted Cheeseman doing? Isn't he like ranked 5th in the IBF or something?
He's 9 by the IBF. Ted Cheeseman is currently not ranked by the WBO, but there's plenty of time for him to pop up in the rankings sometime soon.
Oh, sure, because he lost his last fight, last I saw. Didn't he fight? Who did he fight? His last fight he lost. It was pretty close fight.
hold on. I believe
Pretty
that was
loose.
was it
Can't
Liam
remember.
Williams or was it before that? Let me check.
Yeah, it
No,
was, I think it was on the
Troy,
Liam Smith undercard.
yeah, Troy Williamson, he lost. He was stopped.
That's it. Yep. Yep.
I mean,
Was that on
he
Liam
would be a
Smith's last
solid,
fight?
fun fight, but and it's a fight that can be made. Ted Cheeseman is over with Probellum. They're going through some things right now. That's for another video. But right now, I don't think that would be a big enough progression or like for him.
Fair enough. Well, see, the only, as you keep saying, he's in the deep end now. The only people he can fight are the top five, and he's still yet to beat a top five contender ranked with any of the bodies. So he needs to beat Jack Kukai. There's another name that hasn't fought in a while. So that would be the perfect opponent.
Yeah.
Older, been inactive for a very long time, and highly ranked. Perfect opponent for Tim Tszyu.
And by the way, last week Patrick Teixeira lost via disqualification.
Yes. Patrick Teixeira. I would still tip that. I think Tim could get Patrick Teixeira. It would be a very close fight.
Even though he lost via disqualification, I think they should go for that.
I think they should, because that would give a lot of credibility to Tim Tszyu, because that's a former
world champion.
That's exactly what he needs. And he can't fight any more of these ranked contenders just for the sake of it. He actually needs to fight ex-champions. I mean, he would punch the shit out of Jason Rosario's guts. That wouldn't last very long. So
yeah.
I mean, what's J. Rock Williams doing? When's the last time he fought?
Well, he remember his last fight was that upset. I believe that was on the Fury Wilder 3 undercard. He wasn't supposed to lose that fight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he hasn't been active since then.
Well, another perfect opponent for Tim Tszyu.
Mm-hmm.
Someone looking to get back a little bit of credibility. You know what Tim's like. He tries to pick off the easiest opponent he can lay his hands on. The evidence has been mounting about that.
Yeah,
so,
now that he's got that mandatory, I'm really interested in who his next fight's going to be. I would be shocked if it's Tony Harrison. I'm lobbying for it to be Tony Harrison. I wanted to be Tony Harrison or Fundora. I'll take either or. If they do a Jack Kukai, I would somewhat be okay with that. But for me, here's who I would want. And these are and some of these are just long shots. I don't think it's going to be Murtazaliev, so I'm not even going to mention his name. Because I don't think it's going to be him. He's holding on to that mandatory spot, and also his promotional company, Main Event, they need that shot. I don't think they're just going to give that shot up.
No, they won't.
Their promotional company really needs that shot, and right now. If he can find a way to get the Russian's available now. Murgamed Kabanov, he's available.
Yeah, that's right. But hang on, are Russian fighters allowed to fight at the moment with all the bullshit going on?
They can fight. Bertabiev is not having any issues, and Bivol is not having any ishes. So they can fight, but all how these sanctioning bodies is, how they can flip flop. But if it can't, Kurbanov, Liam Smith is taking on Jesse Vargas at the end of April, a couple of weeks. If he can get Liam Smith, I'll be cool. Or Jesse Vargas, I'll be cool with that. Tony Harrison, Sebastion Fundora. Anything less than that, and I'm looking at the other 154 guys. Anything less than that is just like, even if off of a long layoff, I'll even, accept a Jarrett Hurd.
Yeah, but can he get down to 154?
I don't know. He's still ranked at 154, but he said that he wants to stay at 154 after he took that loss against, I believe it was Luis Arias he's lost to. He wasn't supposed to lose to.
Yeah, he was, yeah. I would accept Jarrett Swift Hurd. I mean, he's a former champion. He's had a long layoff, but, it's better than the other competition that he's fought, that's for sure. So you can't really fault him if he fights Jarrett Hurd, Jason Rosario.
He has to fight a ranked, he has to fight a ranked challenger. But one thing we haven't really gotten any news on was what's his status with Showtime. I'm not going to say according to, but from the sounds of Stephen Espinoza, the head of Showtime Sports here in the States, it seems as though if it's not confirmed that he may have a multi-fight Showtime deal. And one thing about Showtime here in the States is they have a reputation for making sure that their fighters are fighting in meaningful fights that lead to something. So that, saying that's one of the only reasons why I believe that we can get Tony Harrison or Sebastion Fundora, likely Tony Harrison than Fundora, but I think that's an option because of Showtime. But will Tim Tszyu's team take that fight?
Who knows? I don't know. I would probably, based on past history, I would probably say no, because it would be too big of a risk. Because let's be honest,
You think he's gonna head back to Australia? Because over here in the States, it's got to be a meaningful fight.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, you know, Tim Tszyu's got. Tim Tszyu is main events. One of his probably the number 2 guy, the number 1 draw in Australian boxing. Whether people want to admit it or not, we'll talk about him later. Is Gallen still? He's still the biggest draw in the country. I mean, now that Tim Tszyu is getting in with all these American promoters and Showtime and all that, what's that going to do for Australia? Because, yeah, I mean, main event still needs him to make money, you know, to make money off him. So, because they haven't found a replacement for him yet. So, you know, George has got his big fight. We'll get to that later. But at the moment, Tim and Paul are still the biggest draws for main event cards. So, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. I think, I mean, Harrison's been on, you know, on YouTube saying, yeah, he's happy to come over and fight him in Australia. We'll make it happen. So that would be a massive fight. That would be a really, really good fight that Tim needs. So, I mean, would that be a huge fight in America? Who knows? But it would be a bloody big fight here. Yeah, that's for sure. So, you know, but then again, you know, there is a lot of things happening in Australia. It's not just Tim anymore. You know, we've got George, we've got Jai, we've got Paul Gallen. You know, there's other fighters. You know, we've got Hardman versus Zerafa next week. There's other fighters, and Tim never really was the number 1 draw, but he's not the be all the end all anymore. And there's all these other fighters coming along. So, you know, I mean, Tim needs to make a decision. It's, you know, what's going to be the best for him. So it's a 50-50 thing. I mean, you know, Harrison would be a draw in America. Would it be a draw here? Yes, but probably Newcastle would be the way to go. I mean, they probably get a good stadium crowd for that. And anywhere else, nah, I'm not really that confident.
I mean, he said that, you know, he said he would be interested in fighting in Australia. Tony Harrison told media after he had defeated Sergio Garcia. But the thing is, he's a Showtime fighter, and here in the States, Showtime is not known for airing a fight that would take place early in the morning. You know, yeah, exactly. Like for us. So, you know, it would have to happen in the States. You know, that's what I believe. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would work with that too. I mean, Showtime wants their cards in the States where they can control everything. So,
and plus, you know, Tim Tszyu and his team has acknowledged in the past multiple times that it's time for them, you know, to come to the state to start going after a championship.
Exactly, man. And they should have went over there the second they beat Horn. So, yeah, I really think the days of Tim fighting in Australia until after, if or when he becomes a champion, are pretty much over. He needs to fight overseas now.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. Tszyu Controversy and Big J with Fight View 360. Really helps us out when you like the video. Helps us get up in the YouTube algorithm, especially since we were dealing with some issues on YouTube a few months ago. Follow us on Twitter, me at Tszyu Controversy, Big J at Old Mate Big J. I'll put the links down below in the description box. Thanks for watching, and we'll be right back. So, all right, welcome back. We're going to talk about the 118-pound division first, and then, well, actually, we're going to talk about the Moloney brothers. But right now, we're going to start with Jason in the 118-pound division. So let me break down what's going on with the 118-pound division so far. Now, Donaire took on Raymar Gaballo to unify the WBC and the interim title. And Donaire and Inoue are supposed to be fighting Naoya Inoue, WBA, IBF, Ring Magazine, 118-pound bantamweight champion. Him and Donaire are supposed to be unifying all 3 of those belts in the Ring Magazine in June. That fight is inching very close. Both fighters are in camp. John Real Casimero is taking on the rescheduled fight with Paul Butler. His mandatory, that is, let me check real quick. I believe that's next week. Yes, that is going to be next week in Liverpool, next Friday. No stateside network, but nonetheless, I'll be, watching that fight, and hopefully we'll be able to get the winner of Inoue Donaire versus Casimero sometime in September, October, November, definitely before the end of this year, and have a unified champion at 118 pounds finally. So, since we're talking about Jason Moloney, both of the Moloney brothers fought on the top rank on ESPN Plus card last week, headlined by Michaela Mayer and Jennifer Hahn. Jason Moloney, 23-2 with 18 KOs. I guess, let's be honest, Big J. Jason is considered the more skilled of the Moloney brothers, correct?
Yeah, correct, because he uses the jab a lot more. When
the more
Andrew
dangerous.
beat Franco, yeah, more dangerous. Yeah, he uses the jab and he sits down on his punches more than what Andrew does. So, yeah, Jason is a more skillful fighter for sure.
23-2 with 18 KOs, notable fights against Joshua Greer. That was considered somewhat of an upset. To me it wasn't. I forgot, we talked about that fight in detail, and I wasn't really high on Joshua Greer, but nonetheless, fabulous performance. He went to hell and back with Inoue. Then he Manny Rodriguez, split decision. That was in the World Boxing Super Series. Covered that fight. Very, very solid resume. Very, very dangerous fighter at 118 pounds. Right now, it's looking like him and his brother, but let's talk about Jason before we talk about Andrew. He's returning. It looks like likely, not official, but Bob Arum has made some comments that we could see Jason Moloney on the undercard of Devin Haney versus George Kambosos in June, which is going to be here in the States on regular ESPN prime time and over in Australia on main event pay-per-view. And the guy he would be fighting is Nawaphon Kaikanha, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. We'll get better as we get closer to the fight. He's 30 years old, 52, 1-1, with 42 KOs from Thailand. Now, I got to be honest. Those Thailand fighters, their resumes be, just take a look at it yourself. You have a 5-5 in his, actually, he's supposed to be fighting March the 26th. And then before that, he fought in April 2021 against a 5-5-1. Before that, November 2020, a 10-10. In 2019, December, 0-2-1. So that tells you all you need to know right there. But what do you think? What's going on with Jason? What's your thoughts?
Well, I spoke to last time I spoke to Andrew on the phone. It was that pretty much Jason is set up to fight this bloke here for the number one contendership at 118. So, and that gets the winner of Donaire. Well, that will be the number one contender for the WBC, whomever the champion is, whether it's Donaire or Inoue or whatever's going on there. So it looks like 118 is headed in the same direction 135 is now currently. There's going to be a undisputed champion probably by the end of the year.
So here's my theory, that the winner of Donaire and Inoue are going to fight Casimero. I wouldn't be surprised if Moloney versus Kaikanha is going to be an interim fight. I wouldn't be shocked.
Well, Jason already has the silver championship, so that's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
He won
because right now, the division really, it's really no names that really stick out. I mean, you got Charlie Edwards, yeah, okay, but he's new to the division.
Paul Butler.
You got Gary Antonio Russell, yeah, okay. Labario Solis, I seen him fight live, yeah, okay. But basically, none of these guys really stick out. So Jason, I would give him a chance against a lot of these guys. Even to beat some of them.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
For example, you got guys like Rashid Warren. He's been up and down his whole career, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Moloney can beat him, but he's over in the PBC. Charlie Edwards, I would probably pick Jason Moloney to probably have a tough fight with him, could possibly beat him. Gary Antonio Russell, he's still, he's highly skilled, but I haven't seen enough from him yet. But, you still there?
I am still here, man, yeah. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I think Jason is going to be one of those fights where I could possibly, against Donaire and Casimero, have a chance, but in a way, he already knocked him out in 7, so
Yeah.
he'd have to change his game dramatically to get a win over him. So it just, yeah, I mean, it just depends how it goes. I mean, I see him getting a title shot, but depending on who the champion is, yeah, I don't know the way it's going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the end of the year, Inoue will probably most likely be the undisputed champion of the year anyway. So if it's a rematch, Jason will have to change things dramatically to get the win. So,
all right, let's talk about Andrew. Andrew last week, who did Andrew fight? He fought 23-2 with 15 KOs. Gilberto Mendoza, where he got an 8th round stoppage. Mendoza cut over accidental headbutt round 2. Mendoza was stopped standing. Okay. I did see some highlights. I didn't really get a chance to really sit down and watch the fight fully in detail. But basically, it was pretty much like a stay busy, fight to keep them guys active. Nothing really too spectacular about the opponent. Right now, the champions in the 15-pound super flyweight division. Juan Francisco Estrada, we don't know what's going on with him yet. Joshua Franco, IBF Fernando Martinez, and WBO Kazuka Ioka, who fought not too long ago. Right now, Andrew, I got to be honest, he's in a very, very tough division. And looking at it right now, I'm wondering where I was going to say the WBO, where Top Rank is going to try to position him for a title, because right now he's ranked number 8 by the WBC, number 5 by the WBA. The IBF, he is not ranked, but he is ranked number 6 by the WBO. Now, you got Jordan Cajas, who lost his title to Fernando Martinez. Covered that fight here on the channel. And basically, let's be honest, Andrew's in a very, very tough division, because guys like Jordan Cajas would give him a hard time. Kosi Tanaka, he can probably beat Norberto Jimenez. I covered him when he fought Donnie Nietes. In fact, he fought about a week or so ago. Chocolatito Gonzalez and Joshua Franco, those guys were pretty much just, as you would say over in Australia, belting. Sergio Garcia is just too strong for him. So what do you do if you're with with Andrew? Maybe try a new trainer, or just take it slow and just work your way to a title shot and see where it goes from there.
I think his intentions is to pursue the Japanese champion at WBO. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's his intentions. Because he had a fight in December of last year on the Paul Gallen undercard, the day before the Paul Gallen undercard, and said that was his plan, that he wants to pursue the WBO route. Okay. So well, I wonder, that's the way they're going to go.
So I wonder if, since it is the WBO, will they try to pull some strings to get Moloney to maybe fight Norberto Jimenez or Donnie Nietes? Nietes, the Filipino fighter. Maybe they want to bring, the Filipino turnout, in Australia, maybe. It's going to be
maybe. I mean, there's history there between the Australians and the Filipinos, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. All right. On to the next subject. Devin Haney versus George Kambosos. Really looking forward to that fight for full undisputed, fully active, full undisputed, where you're going to have the unification of the franchise and the WBC title. Of course, the WBA Super, IBF, WBO, and the Ring magazine taking place down in Australia. What's the expected crowd attendance supposed to be?
56,000.
Do you think they're going to hit that number?
I'll believe it when I see it, but I reckon I'll get pretty close. I mean, as I said, the football's not doing anything that weekend. Both the NRL and the AFL don't have games that day. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it'll free up a lot of people. Yeah, as I said, I think so. I'm quietly confident that they'll get a big crowd, but it remains to see just how big of a crowd they'll get. But once again, they have to promote the absolute daylights out of it. I mean, they have to have posters everywhere. It has to be all over the news. That sort of stuff. So
has George's
now that
profile,
a couple of months ago, they should start the bubble.
Has George's profile risen since he's been over there? I mean, since he's won the championships from Teofimo? I mean, how much has it risen? Like, is he really becoming like a household name?
Not that I see, because I actually live very close. I only live an hour and a half away from the actual stadium, and there's not much going on there. Yeah, I mean, when they had the Sonny Bill versus Paul Gallen, Sonny Bill versus Barry Hall fight, they had billboards and stuff everywhere. I haven't seen any of that yet. So hopefully they get that out really soon, because that's the way to promote the fight. So
we're less than 60 days away from the fight. So yeah, you got to think they got to start getting on the ball with that. So of course there's going to be a pay-per-view over there. You were saying something about, maybe them possibly raising the prices. I don't know how that would fare.
Nah, I don't think so. I mean, I think about it like, no, I don't think so. I think it'll probably be the standard price, or maybe even cheaper. Who knows?
So I've already said that I feel that Devin Haney is going to go in there and he's going to outbox George Kambosos, and you have George Kambosos winning by knockout, stoppage.
TKO, 9 rounds.
And what's your logic behind that? Fans want to know.
Oh, he's more tenacious. He's quicker. He's stronger. He can hit. And I don't think Haney's going to bother him, because Haney, off his last performances, have been not that great. I mean, I think Haney's a little overrated. So not just a little, but
yeah,
he might be able to outbox. He might be able to outbox George, but George is going to outgun him in big time. I mean, look what he did to Teofimo.
Yeah, Haney's last performances, his last 3, Yorkis Gamboa, unanimous decision, a fight in which he should have stopped Yorkis Gamboa. Fans were expecting him to stop Yorkis Gamboa. Jorge Linares, he won a close fight, 116-112, 115-113 by the judges. And he had his bell rung. That wasn't a good look for him. And then the Jojo Diaz fight, where he didn't do anything spectacular, where he pretty much won 116-112. Now these have all been, like quality names for him, but he hasn't really gotten over the hump, and he hasn't really done anything to make fans, look at him and say like, oh, okay, this guy is like, the goods. He's got the skills to pay the bills. But me, I think that this is going to be the fight where he really shows the world who he is. And he's going over in the foreign territory in Australia, and, all countries have their, certain, how fans say they have like their certain biases for judging. But one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go to any country, no matter where you're from, and try to leave it to the judges. What wasn't there a bad call for Kambosos? Teofimo, let me check.
Yes. Now the bad call.
One of them had 113,
if you remember
114.
when he fought,
had Tio win. Yeah, I'm looking at one of them.
That's right. Yeah.
The 2 judges' scorecards were the 3 judges: Glenn Feltman, 115-112 for George; Frank Lombardi, 115-111 for George, and then you had Don Trella, 113-114 for Teofimo.
Yeah, well,
even Tim Tszyu had got a bad card, against Gausha. So, one thing you want to do is, when you go to another country, you don't want to really leave it up to the judges, especially for a high-profile fight. So Devin Haney, if he's going to win, I wouldn't leave it up to the judges. This is the fight where he's got to go out there and try to go for the knockout. He's supposed to be coming over there soon, and I'm guessing he's going to have a ton of media engagements because he wants to get acclimated to the weather. What's the weather going to be like over there, and what are the COVID restrictions?
No COVID restrictions, and weather fucking shit house. It'll be cold. It'll be miserable. That's the start of our winter. June's the start of our winter, but this is Melbourne, and today, surprisingly, it was actually very nice, clear blue skies. But by the time the fight rocks around, it'll be cold, it'll be windy, it'll be doom and gloom, it'll be shit house. So, yeah, I don't think the weather's been nice, but at the moment, it's actually proving it's been quite lovely. But Melbourne in winter is not nice. It's just bloody awful.
If George were to win, what would you like to see him do? Like, who would you want to see him fight?
If George wins,
do you think he should stay at 135 and defend? Should he move up? And if he stays at 135,
no. He should stay where he is. He's got too many good fights at 135. Because he's got a rematch with Haney, and then he's got to fight Lomachenko.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to go to 140. He doesn't need to go to 140 at all. And then there's
Tank Davis, Ryan
Tank,
Garcia.
there's Ryan Garcia. If some miracle happens, Billy Dibb's up the rankings now.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of fights for him to stay at 135 where he can make a lot of money. He doesn't need to go to 140.
You know, after the other guys or in between, he can use Billy Dibb as like the homecoming fight. You know, like the Aussie undisputed type of fight if Billy Dibb keeps doing what he's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. I mean, when's the last time we had an All-Australian title fight? Mundine Solomon 3, 2008. So that was a fair while ago. So.
Yeah. All right, let me break down the division real quick before we move on to the next topic. So, of course, George Kambosos, Devin Haney happening. What's that? That's June the 4th for you guys, right? Or is that the 5th? That's June the 5th?
No, June the 5th for us, June the 4th for you.
Got you. June the 5th for you guys over in Australia. Here in the States, it's going to be on regular prime time. ESPN is going to be a midday card over in Australia. So Lomachenko was off at war, no telling what's going on with his situation and when he's coming back. Tank Davis is taking on Rolly Romero to be the WBA mandatory for the winner of Kambosos Haney. But as it stands right now, it looks like Lomachenko is the first mandatory before Tank Davis versus Rolly Romero get their shot. And then you have Ryan Garcia, who will likely be in an eliminator sometime soon. Well, he could be ordered to fight Isaac Cruz in an eliminator to be the WBC mandatory. And then you have Zaire Abduliev. No telling what's going to go with him. He actually defeated Jorge Linares. He's ranked number 2 by the WBC. But knowing the WBC, which, you know, Big J, you want to say some things, I wouldn't be surprised if the WBC screws Zaire Abduliev for Ryan Garcia because of money and Isaac Cruz. That's what I think is going to happen, is they're going to try to find a way to leapfrog him to make Ryan Garcia or Isaac Cruz the WBC interim champion. Your thoughts on the WBC?
Yeah, what the fuck's going on with the WBC? They are screwing around multiple fighters. I mean, how long was Dylan White waiting for his shot at the WBC title? Not just Fury, but the actual WBC.
Yeah, it was I forgot he said like something like 1,000 days, something like that.
Something like that. Jamal Charlo at middleweight hasn't fought anyone decent in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
How long did they fuck around Erickson Lubin for?
Yeah, Erickson Lubin and Fundora. Fundora said on the Boxing Voice show the day after he beat Erickson Lubin is that he had 4 final eliminators. He was there with his promoter, his manager, Samson Lukovic. 4 eliminators.
And now they've chucked a belt on Tony Harrison just for the fun of it.
Yeah, WBC silver.
Yeah, WBC silver. Who else are they bloody jerking around?
Well, I mean, Errol Spence hasn't had a mandatory.
Yeah, the WBC is doing the same stupid shit that the WBA has just stopped doing. They've created all these belts. Haney's getting screwed because his legitimate belt has been overshone by George's franchise, which they gave to Lomachenko. Yeah. So, for some unknown reason. So, Lomachenko didn't have to have a mandatory.
And there's a very good chance that David Benavidez will be, if he beats David Lemieux, will be an interim champion. Canelo made a franchise champion, so he doesn't have to defend his WBC championships at 168. But yeah, definitely some fuckery going on right there.
Yeah, some bullshit fuckery, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm looking forward to the fight. So right now, you know, the undercard, nothing's known yet, but Bob Barum has hinted that Kambosos Haney will feature the Moloney brothers, the Moloney brothers, but they're going to need one more fight, and I don't think that Matchroom Eddie Hearn, who has you know, a good bulk of the Australian fighters like Ebanie Brigdes, they're not going to be on this card. So who do you think realistically can be, you know, that 4th fight for the pay-per-view?
They'll probably slap together a couple of club fighters. Who knows? I mean,
it's got to be somebody from Australia. You know, maybe a Lucas Brown? I don't know if he'll open up. It'll have to be somebody that'll open up the show, though. I'm thinking that Moloney versus Kaikanha is going to be the co-feature. That's the main undercard fight. I'm thinking that because it's going to be.
They'll have the 2 Moloney brothers, and they'll chuck on a couple of. Maybe they'll chuck on because main event does this all the time, like a very low grade women's 115 fight, like Lynn Sandstrom. Yeah, like a couple of women at 115 that no one's ever really heard of. They'll probably chuck that in there, or it's also a main event card, so main event have got a shitload of fighters they can use. So, but they'll probably get a couple of low grade fighters on the cheap, because you got to think that the majority of that money is going to be taken up by George and Haney.
Yeah.
So how much money would they have left to have other fighters on the undercard? But for that exposure, there'll be a shitload that'll be prepared to put their hands up, and they'll fight for virtually nothing. So you think the options would be endless? All
right, well, as soon as we get some news on Haney Kambosos and what's going on with the undercard.
Oh, news. Michael Buffer will be the announcer. Okay. That is official. Michael Buffer will be the announcer.
Oh, there we go. Big fight field. So next topic, we're going to move on to some women's boxing. Take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at FightView360, T Street Controversy, and Old Mate Big J. So Ebanie Brigdes, 8-1 with 3 KOs. Last fight against a few weeks ago against Maria Roman. In my opinion, the best performance of her pro boxing career, where she won her first world title, the IBF, at bantamweight 118 pounds. Other champions, Yulihan Avila. I covered her on the channel if you want to go check her out. 3-1 with 4 KOs. You have IBO champion Melissa Odessa Parker. We're going to talk about her in a minute. And then you have Dina Thorslund, who is, which champion is this? 18-0 with 7 KOs. She fought last week. She's the WBO. And then, of course, you have Jamie Mitchill, who is, obligated to fight Shannon Courtney. She's 8-0-2 with 5 KOs. She's the WBA. She fought in February against a Carla Scully, stopped her in 4. The Shannon Courtney fight, they're still trying to get a date for that. As it stands right now, she can't do anything else until Shannon Courtney says so. I just watched the interview from her trainer just a couple of days ago, also on the Boxing Voice, where basically, they want to fight Ebanie Brigdes, meaning Jamie Mitchill, but she has to fight Shannon Courtney first, and it's nothing that they can, do about that. So in the meantime, who does Ebanie Brigdes fight? Now, you're saying that you think it's going to likely be maybe Odessa Parker, and that there's some controversy with Thorslund and the manager of Ebanie Brigdes, Brian Cohen.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, I saw on Twitter the other day that he said that Thorslund can fight Ebanie when she is subject to VADA testing on something on the long
VADA testing.
So
that's the most stringent drug testing in boxing.
Yep. So I mean, I don't know nothing. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty odd for him to say. I mean, I wonder if he considers Thorslund a threat.
Possibly, considering she's 17-0, probably out of all the champions, she would be the biggest threat. So,
and he just throwing roadblocks out there, because I'm thinking like, well, where did that come from? And you have to already think, that Cohen has they already have their own plan, and they're aligned with Matchroom, and Thorslund is over with Probellum, and she's in a totally different promotional company.
Exactly.
Something tells me it's politics there, and they don't want to unify with her, until they absolutely have to, or if she signs with Matchroom or not.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of, as we said, there's a lot of in-house fights we can make. I mean, Jamie Mitchill, Odessa Parker, and Ebanie are all managed by Cohen and are all signed to Matchroom.
Yeah, see? That's exactly my point.
So those fights... Sorry, you go ahead.
No, I said that's exactly my point, because there's other fights that they can make. So, of course they're going to write Thorslund off.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm really interested in, if Eddie Hearn ends up signing this Yulihan Avila girl, to try to bring, because she has the WBC.
Correct.
I would. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think that fight would be more interesting than the Parker fight. I mean, the only reason the Parker fight would happen was because Cohen's his manager and she's got the IBO belt. Yeah. So it's a nice little accompaniment to Ebanie's IBF belt, but the WBC belt would be a much more interesting fight.
Do you think that maybe they can do Brigdes versus Odessa Parker, Melissa Parker in Australia as its own card? Because right now it seems as though, it kind of seems like she's really based herself in the UK, and that,
Yeah, that's a lot. There's a lot of professional jealousy out there about Ebanie from other boxers in Australia, and it feels that, and the evidence is that she's turning her back on us to go piss off the leagues. So, and not a lot of Australian fans are happy about that.
I'm an American, and that's what it looks like to me from the outside looking in.
Because, she's doing all these meet and greets. She does all this stuff. She does all these interviews, but you never see her talking to Australian media. Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people are pissed off that Ebanie won that fight, because now they're like, oh, God, now the boobs and the bum on the scales is just going to go ridiculous. And there are a lot of other women that are starting to do that trend. There was a female champion today that wore that funny-looking G-string suit on the scales today. Who was that? Alicia
Baumgartner.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's other women. Beck Connolly was doing it. There's other women in the UK doing it. It's like everyone's like, is Ebanie starting a trend here where it's going to be a lingerie contest at the weighing? We don't need this shit. Just weighing girls. Okay, you make weight, right? Get your clothes back on. Time for the fight.
Yeah. I've been seeing it for years, but I'm wondering if it has been an uptick, and I'm starting to think it has been a little bit.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like from what you've seen, from what I've seen from Avila, I think that Ebanie may have some issues with the height. This girl's kind of big. The second half of the fight, it was no walk in the park for Ebanie Brigdes when she fought Roman. Roman just started too slow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if Roman put on that pressure from the opening bell, I think Roman would have got that win.
Mm-hmm. And I haven't seen enough from Parker, to think that she would beat Ebanie Brigdes. But I've seen enough from Dina Thorslund to think that maybe she can beat Ebanie Brigdes. If we really think about it, I don't really rate Shannon Courtney that high, but she beat Ebanie Brigdes.
No, she did. But I think that Ebanie Brigdes now, would be able to get over the short Shannon Courtney. It's like Shannon's on the way down and Ebanie's on the way up. So that's what I believe.
Yeah, I believe so as well. All right, so we're just waiting for her next fight to be announced. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who it is. Did she say anything about when she's returning? I wouldn't be, I won't be surprised if they put her on, depending on where it's going to be at, on Usyk Joshua 2.
That would work.
That's going to be in July.
That would work. I'll tell you one thing, she's certainly not fighting Shannon O'Connell, that's for sure. No chance of that.
Has Shannon O'Connell been calling her out?
I don't believe so, but we all know Shannon would give Ebanie a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Lots of problems.
All right, on to the next topics before we close out the video. Take your time out once again, like the video, subscribe, really helps us out. Let's do some quick hits. What is going on with Justice Honey? I'm still disappointed.
Justice Honey returns to the ring June 15th against Joseph Goodall. They were supposed to fight earlier, but Justice got hurt, got sick, whatever. Joseph Goodall had his fight on the undercard to the Zhu Goucher card. Had a one-round knockout, so that should be an interesting fight.
Yeah, Joseph Goodall is 8-0-1 with 7 KOs, 29 years old. Is this considered a tough fight for Honey at this stage in his career?
Absolutely, because I don't know how well his hands have healed.
Mm-hmm.
And while
can you run that down for fans? What happened with him from the Olympics, between the Paul Gallen fight, the Olympics, and now what's been going on?
Okay, so he got the Olympics, then he fought Christian Tszyu, 10-round fight there, got the win. Then he fought Paul Gallen like a month after that. This was a month before the Olympics. Went into the Tszyu fight with an injured hand. Heard it, went into the Gallen fight with another injured hand. Busted both his hands. Managed to knock out Paul Gallen in 10 rounds. then had to go away and have surgery on both his hands because his left thumb was fucked. And he's got boxer's knuckle in his right hand, from what I believe from the reports. So,
I'm sorry, what did he get?
His jets were totally cooled. So,
what did you say he got from the reports?
Boxer's knuckle in one hand and a busted thumb in the other.
God.
So yeah, both his hands were buggered.
So what is but so basically, so he's supposed to be back and he's supposed to be, Joseph Goodall's supposed to be his coming out party, like, all right, I'm here, I'm back on the scene.
I believe his time will be on the line for that fight, hopefully.
Okay. Now, Jaya Patel.
Yeah, because you got to Sonny.
I'm sorry.
Jaya injured rib, should be back against Brigdes sometime in July.
Okay, and that's going to be for a IBF, the IBF title at cruiserweight. We can wait. How many times have that fight been postponed now? It's been
twice.
Twice. Okay.
Once with Brigdes getting COVID, and now Jaya Patel have the rib injury.
And tell me about this Harry Garside. He had, what was did he headline his own card? What was going on with that?
Yeah, Harry Garside, a week before last, headed up a fight with, I can't remember his opponent's name, for the Australian lightweight title, and he got the dominant win. So he's now the Australian lightweight champion. So
is he a big deal? Like, is he good? I mean, because he's only he's 2-0 with 1 KO.
Oh, he's very, very slick. Very slick. Great footwork, great defenseman. Because he's a Olympic bronze medalist. I mean, you don't make the Olympic bronze medal by being a slouch. He's very slick. He's very swift, very fast, very strong, and he's going to go. If he keeps on going the way he's going, he could make a bit of a noise in the lightweight division. Okay. But it's very, very early days.
Liam Paro has been linked to Teofimo Lopez. What's going on with him?
Oh, I'd love to see that. That's all I know. He's the number 1 contender at WBO. Teofimo is the number 2, and there has been rumours floating around that those two might be ordered to fight by the WBO to be number 1 contender for. Hang on, hasn't Josh Taylor pissed off to 147?
No, he's still holding on to the belts, but yes, he's going to be moving up. But as it stands right now, I'm guessing his promoters are telling him to hold on to the belts until they position all their guys.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot going on at 147, 154.
Because I'm wondering if Lopez and Paro, and also Jack Catterall's doing a petition anyway. And I'm also wondering if Lopez and Paro could end up being for the full title, a vacant title. That's something we got to pay attention to. We got to start picking up on some Liam Paro content.
I think I saw something on Twitter the other day that he would rather fight Catterall than Lopez, but we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah, well, money talks. Money definitely talks. Brock Jarvis, has you heard anything about him and what's going on with him? Where's he been at?
No, he was supposed to have that rematch of that Mexican bloke that almost took his head off, but I've heard nothing about it.
So they're rebuilding.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because why would you have a rematch of someone that you knocked out? I don't understand it.
Yeah, they're rebuilding. So what's going on with Paul Gallen? He's fighting. Let's see. It's listed for May the 11th against a Chris Terziewski.
Yep.
So basically, Paul Gallen's just making money. This Chris Terziewski guy is 10-1 with 8 KOs, 31 years old. Nobody of note on the resume. So basically,
Django up a little bit.
Okay, so basically, this is just a stay busy. Like, Paul Gallen is a full-fledged main event, a pay-per-view fighter now. He's just fighting anybody.
Pretty much. Well, I think what he's doing is that he's keeping busy. He's keeping busy until possibly the Sonny Bill fight at the end of the year.
Have you heard anything about that? Are they inching towards something?
I think so, but I don't think it'll happen until after the football season.
Okay. Makes sense.
Because as I said, they both work for Channel 9. They're both in commentary for Channel 9. So I don't think that's going to happen until after the football season. And Sonny Bill possibly has commitments with Stan. So there's promotional. It's going to be a mess how that's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of politics involved in that because Sonny Bill had his fight with Stan, which was now the other
and I get it.
competition for main event.
Yeah, main event. I see.
Yeah. So basically Australia, if this keeps on going, Australia's going to end up like America and having several different, broadcasters. It's all gonna, So
I mean, he's been really active because he's had 2 fights in 2019 and then 1 fight in 2020, of course, because COVID. That was against Mark Hunt. He had 3 fights in 2021, and now another fight. And possibly 2 fights or maybe 3 in 2022. He is making some money.
Oh, well, he made 1.5 million for the Haney fight, so that was just 1 fight.
Crazy. All right. Anybody else we missed? Oh, Alexander Volkanovski moving up to 155 lightweight. I did get a chance to cover dominating fighters. To me personally, there's nothing more for him to do at 145 pounds. It's time for him to move up.
Yeah, definitely.
You got guys like even Tony Ferguson. Obviously Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. So it would be very interesting to see what he would do in a higher weight division. But since we're short on time, let's get right to the big fight of the week. Big fight of the biggest fight of the week for Australian boxing. You got Michael Zerafa, who is 29-4 with 18 KOs, one of my favorite Australian fighters, taking on Isaac Hardman, 12-0 with 10 KOs. You're going to have an interview with Isaac Hardman that Big J did immediately following this video. Now, on paper, you would think that Isaac Hardman would be, the favorite in the fight. He is the undefeated fighter. But Mick Zerafa is the favorite. Hardman is only 25 years old, too, by the way. What's the buzz on the fight? And I got the security footage pulled up here. What happened at this restaurant? This was after the press conference, right?
I think it was just before. Yeah, Zerafa, I think Hardman tried to get up and shove him or slap him or whatever, but yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think it just a little bit of, got a little bit hot-headed. Maybe it was, something they set up. Who knows? But I forgot to ask Isaac about that when I interviewed him. But just a bit of piss and wind, I suppose. So things maybe got a little out of hand.
So it's a grudge match.
I totally forgot about that, to be honest with you.
What's the buzz on the fight?
It got mentioned for about 3 seconds, and everyone just moved on. So
what's the buzz about the fight? I mean, I'm kind of hyped for it. It's supposed to be taking place on fight.tv for what? $43? $43,
yeah, $43, yeah. Fight.tv, $43. Yeah, big. This is probably the most significant domestic fight in quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So, because this leads, the winner of this will be the number 2 contender for the IBF. And Isaac told me in the interview that the number 1 contender, what's his name? Brazilian fighter. Let me bring it up here.
Wait, what weight is this fight taking place at?
160.
Oh, it's Esquiva Falco.
Yep.
Esquiva
a
Falco.
Brazilian fighter. And from what Isaac told me, he believes that Triple G is going to vacate the titles, fight Canelo for the 3rd time, and that'll be a vacant IBF title. That's what Hardman told me in the interview. So
okay. Who do you think is going to win?
But I think Zerafa is going to give him a lesson personally, because Hardman, the fence isn't great. Only really has that right hand power, and Mick's far more experienced. I mean, Mick's been in there with Kell Brook, Jeff Horn twice.
Peter
he's far more experienced, where Hardman's just fought domestic level fighters, Australian domestic level fighters.
Yeah, I don't see anything there of note. I don't see anything there of note, and I'm wondering how they're figuring that the winner is going to be number 2 in the IBF rankings when you have all these other fighters here ranked. But hey, they're the fighters; they know more than us.
Well, that's what they said at the press conference. So.
Yeah, but I'm guaranteed that if Hardman does beat Zerafa, since he's undefeated, I'm pretty sure that's definitely going to shoot him up pretty high in the rankings. And the 160-pound rankings anyway are pretty weak overall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Nothing that really sticks out.
I mean, even though Hardman is the underdog, he said that he's prepared to bet his whole purse on himself for this. So he's got some confidence about him. But I mean, he has to prove it in the ring. But I really think that Mick is going to be the clear favourite for this fight. And on the betting thing that I showed you, he's got paying $1.55, where Hardman's 210. So Mick is clearly the favourite for this fight.
So as it stands on the undercard, you got Shanika Johnson versus a Melissa Esquivel.
Esquivel, yep, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Anybody else on the undercard of note? You got Benjamin Bomber. Didn't we talk about him before?
Yeah, I think he showed up he made his debut on the Zerafa Mundine undercard. Yeah, he's going along nicely. He's undefeated, so he's one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But bar that, I mean, the two big fights, obviously, Hardman Zerafa and Shanika for the vacant IBF Super Bantamweight title. So if Shanika wins that, that's 3 world champions Australia's got. 2 of them are women. So what more could you want?
Okay, and what about the fight week schedule? Where's the weigh-in?
The weigh-in will be, I've got the address here, it will be in South Melbourne on Tuesday morning at 11 a.m.
Okay, perfect.
Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Okay, so we're going to be here covering the fight, hopefully. It looks like right now I'm going to have access to the fight, but you never know. So we're going to be here covering the fight, the main event, doing a video after the fight. Take your time out. Let us know what you think about the fights we've talked about. Let us know what you think about, obviously, versus Tszyu and Tony Harrison, and would you like to see him fight Fundora, or who else you would like to see him fight. As far as Haney versus Kambosos, or Kambosos Haney, we would like to know your thoughts on who you think is going to win the fight and how excited you are for the card. And for this fight week card right here, Mick Zerafa versus Isaac Hardman, tell me your thoughts on the fight and who we should be looking out for the undercard. So, of course, for me, as you can say, it's saying here the card's going to start at 3 a.m. Eastern. Geez. You know, but nonetheless, we're going to be here to cover the whole card. You know, or I'm going to watch the whole card as much as I can, but I'm definitely going to be covering the main event with Big J. Big J, closing thoughts?
I think we've covered everything. I mean, you know, I'm really looking forward to the Zerafa Hardman. I really am. I think that's going to be a very interesting fight, and it's going to be probably make or break for both of them. So
yeah, one's undefeated, and then if Mick loses, then well, you know, pretty much where does he go? Especially after blowing the fight with Tim Tszyu. I'm sure that probably pisses him off now more than ever. I would be upset if I was him.
Well, a lot of people are still very pissed off with that. So I don't think main events have forgiven him for that yet. So
yeah. Well, all right. Thanks for watching. Take your time out. Like the video, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at T Street Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J.